We are so delighted to have you here. We are bringing you and introducing you to 4 American craftsmen each week and letting you get to know the story behind them. My name is Jackie Ralston, and I have been involved in the crafts world for more than 30 years. As a promoter of shows in New England, you may know the Boston Christmas Festival and also the New England Christmas Festival, which is going to take place at Mohegan Sun on Thanksgiving weekend in Connecticut. And we are all feeling the effects of the quarantine, particularly the craftsmen of this country who have lost a way that they always counted on to make an income. So we here at Artisan Promotions said, what can we do to connect them to their fans? And came up with this format that we're very excited about because we're giving you an opportunity to get to know the story behind 4 different artisans every week. And they all have interesting and amazing stories. So we're sure that you're going to enjoy this week's episode, and you are going to meet Mahlon Williams, whose company is I Love Boston Sports, and Russ and Tina Fye from Maine Island Soap, and Maria Ampolo and Kate Scholes from Hearth and Hound, and Jessica Gomes from the Beaded Wire Jewelry Company. So let's start with our first artisan, Mahlon, and introduce you.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Oh, delighted to have you here. You have such an interesting story. So let's just dive right into it. Your company is called I Love Boston Sports. And that sort of says a lot. But what it doesn't say is that, in fact, you are a major, amazing athlete. So because we're here in this format where we get to know a little bit about the artisan's backstory, let's just share with our viewers what you shared with me, that you were invited to be on a TV show called Joe's versus
Pros. Yes.
Versus Pros. Thank you. That's what it is. Joe's versus Pros. And they paired you up with Hall of Fame athletes in football, basketball, and baseball. And that was quite an experience. So let's tell us about it.
Yes. So at the time I was working in finance, and I had spent at that point in time about 12 or 13 years starting back on Wall Street. And I was at Fidelity at the time here in Boston. And I was kind of experiencing a midlife crisis. I was an athlete all my life. And when I was in New York, I was very accomplished playing in some very good basketball leagues. And this was an opportunity for me to see what I was really made of. And my father played professional football and got hurt. And I always wondered if I had the ability to do it. So this was an opportunity for me to kind of test to see what I was made of. And I had the best time of my life. But in the aftermath of that, a friend of mine asked me if I wanted to start a t-shirt company. And in doing so, it allowed me to connect a lot of things that were very important over my lifetime that I never really got a chance to do, which was to exercise some of my creativity and merge it with a lot of the things that I love. Comic books, sports.
Yeah, so let's back up a little bit and just say that, starting a t-shirt company is a pretty brave and ambitious thing to do because, let's face it, there are many t-shirt companies in this country. But what our viewers are going to see in looking at your website is you have an amazing sense of humor and design, and you put together prints and artwork that is in its own category. But got to this because, going back to your days at Fidelity, you told me that you were working all the time, and then you would come home to your apartment building and hang out with the people who were there, And who were those people?
So yes, when I first moved to New York and was working on Wall Street, um, I was in the big city and I was in awe, and I didn't really know anyone. I had grown up in North Carolina, and so I spent a lot of time just either playing basketball or just hanging out in my apartment. But because I grew up fascinated with comic books, there was some aspiring comic book artists that were living. There was 12 of them to an apartment above me in Jersey City, New Jersey, and I befriended them, and I was so fascinated with what they did, and they were fascinated with just me and the fact that I was playing in a lot of pro amateur basketball leagues, and our friendship really started from there. And what it allowed me to do was to network with guys that I would then later on use when I started my business, helping me bring some of the ideas that I had to life. And
All right, so I think we should see some of those ideas. Let's go to your website and look at some of these prints because they're so fun. So I think we're going to go to, yeah, there we go. So let me just tell our viewers that you have, and they'll need to come back and take a good long look at your website, but you have a lot of different products, t-shirts, hoodies, wall prints, all kinds of things. And any of the images, correct me if I'm wrong, but any of the images that we're going to see now are available on any of your items, right?
yes, absolutely.
Okay. So let's, so yeah, thank you. So we're looking at some of your hoodies, and let's go back and look at some of the wall prints. Yep, they all have a story, and I want to talk about, let's see, which one would you like to tell us a little bit more about?
We could start with beers, which is the one over to the right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I should say, in full disclosure, one of my biggest influences was Norman Rockwell. When I grew up in North Carolina, my grandmother used to subscribe to the Saturday Evening Post, and she wouldn't let us touch anything in her house except that stack of magazines. And that's where I fell in love with Norman Rockwell. And I love the fact that he reflects kind of Americana feel in all of his paintings, and it's a very whimsical look. And so what I've tried to do is try to combine that same kind of carefree, creative spirit, if you will, to sports, because sports are a huge part of what drives me, and it's a very big passion of a lot of people in New England. So this particular one is more of a spoof on Cheers, the bar. It's called Beers, and it's imagine some of your favorite players and fan favorites in the sports community all having a drink. And the fun part about it is trying to identify who's in there and why they're in there. And there's subtle jokes that we plant in some of our artwork. Like if you look at the back table on the left-hand side, there's Josh Beckett and John Lackey, the chicken and beer guys. They're drinking beer and eating chicken, which was to their earlier transgressions. But who's in each of these paintings is very important, and it tells a story. And this particular one is very simple in the fact that it's really just a bar setting. But when people see these guys and they're taken back to players that they remember 20, 30 years ago and fan favorites, and it's a slice of history for them.
Yeah.
I also wanted to show this, which speaking of Norman Rockwell, this is a parody of his The Runaway, where it had the cop and the runaway child at the diner. The interesting part about this is that the kids in this painting, two of which are my kids behind the counter, and none of them were all together. What I basically had to do was take pictures of each of them in the positions that I wanted them, and then we painted them. And so the three kids in front are friends of my son. The only person not present in any of this was David Ortiz. But it was a way for me to involve people that I care about and love, and I thought it would be a fun way to really reflect people's passion for sports and make it and reimagine how we think about art.
Yeah. So we are unfortunately running out of time, but before we go, I want to look at another print, another of your wall prints. I know that Belichick Crossing the Charles is a really popular one, right? Should we? Yeah. Let's see if we can make that bigger. That's
Very quickly.
fun.
This is the best-selling one, and actually, Bill Belichick owns this and has this hanging up in Gillette. And he wrote us a very nice letter. One of his friends had ordered it and sent it to him, and then we framed it up very nicely for him. But this one, so a lot of our paintings have things buried inside the art. In this particular one, there are 9 hidden trophies buried in the scenery. So part of the fun is not only identifying the guys that are in it, but also finding out what's hidden in the painting and why it's there.
Yeah, exactly. So our viewers they need to spend some time on your website because all of your prints are so filled with a story. And because New England is such a crazed sports area, they'll have fun with that. But so people can certainly buy online. I know that you have a number of shops. I don't know if they're still open or what's happened with those.
Today's the first day we reopened, so you might have heard the chime in the background. So we're back at it. So I've got 2 stores in the Boston area, one in Faneuil Hall, historic Faneuil Hall, and one in the Braintree South Shore Plaza.
Congratulations. Good for you. And we'll keep our fingers crossed that life returns to normal and that all shops get to be open and that people come and enjoy what you've created. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
So now we're going to meet Russ and Tina Phi from Maine Island Soap.
Hello.
Hi. Hello. How are you two?
Good. Very good. How are you?
Good. So thank you for sharing some time with us today. And it looks like you're in your studio. So you guys are soap makers. And I think that I've lived long enough to remember when you just dashed into the supermarket and you just chose a soap off the shelf. And that was it. That's about as much thought as you put into a bar of soap. And that's such a far cry from where we are today. I applaud you for getting into the soap business a couple of years ago, right? Because people now, they want to know what's in it. They want to know what it does for you. Does it exfoliate? Does it soften? Does it nourish? Does it lather? God only knows what else they want. And there's so many things that you can put into the soap. So tell us a little bit about, your journey and how you got to where you are now.
I was a soap maker for my family and friends, just for gifts, for the holidays and for birthdays. And I did a little craft fair, and I met a lady who had this company, and she is really into using herbs and spices and things on, around the earth that in our soaps. And we had a conversation, basically, long story short. And we became friends and stayed in touch, and she decided that she was going to go a different path and reached out to me. And so that's how we kind of came to having this company.
And did you have to educate yourself about, as we were saying, you've got spices and essential oils and all these things?
Absolutely. I knew a little bit about it, but I've learned a great deal since I've made this soap, because we do use herbs and spices and essential oils. And the soap I was making before was fragrance oils. So I educated myself and on what that meant, between fragrance oils and essential oils. And everything's all natural in our soap making now. It's really
Plus, it was a cold process that we make now. And Tina was making glycerin soaps before. So it's a whole completely different process.
What does that mean to me as a consumer?
Process.
The difference between the cold process and not?
Yes.
No, what does that mean?
The cold process soap, we use lye. So sodium hydroxide is used. It's lye. And we mix that with water, and it causes saponification when it's put in with the oils, and that hardens the soap. So once the soap is dehydrated and cured, then it's all the lyes are removed from it. Whereas the glycerin soap, you just melt the glycerin bar, pour it in, add your fragrance oils, and it cures.
I see. Okay. And so you've got a whole selection of soaps. We're going to look at some of your ingredients in a minute, but just looking at your selection here, you have a different cover for each soap, right?
Right. Each soap has its own picture, and it has a name that corresponds with a different place in Maine. So they're fun.
Yeah. So lavender. Okay. So lavender seaweed.
When we started, they were wrapped in tissue paper.
Right. And now you've got these beautiful covers. So like pine needle. Whoops. The pine needle. I was looking at that earlier before we started the show. I happen to know that you've got balsam in there, which is one of my favorite smells. So, this is what I'm saying. If you want a soap that smells like lavender or like balsam, you need to read the labels, and you've got lots of choices, right?
Right.
Yeah. And what would you say is your most popular soap?
The Cadillac Mountain Morning Mint is a very popular soap. The Hadley Point Lavender Seaweed is a popular soap, and the Old Port Patchouli Rose is a popular one as well.
And because of a quality that they have, because it nourishes or exfoliates, or why?
Yeah, I think people just like the scents and the essential oils that we put into them, and they like the packaging more than anything, I think.
Huh. So we can see that you also do sell essential oils. And what does one do with those?
You answer that part.
Normally we diffuse them, some people put them on topically just for, if you have an ailment or like an upset belly or just need to de-stress, it's really good to have them diffusing, or sometimes you can put them on topically and it helps. It has great benefits.
Got it. Okay. So let's move to your ingredient list, because I think it might be interesting to take a look at all the different, it's hard for anybody to imagine all the different products that you've got in there. And just help us out a little bit. Where are we going to find the ingredient list?
If you go up to the top of the page, all the way to the right corner, top, it says our ingredients. And we're actually starting next week. We're going to have our website redone so it flows more, better and has better pictures and whatnot. So it kind of matches the boxes that we spent 8 months on designing.
Correct. Okay, so here we've got your soap base, olive oil. Let's go down to the actual. Why would you use an olive oil versus a coconut oil?
We use both, so they both have really good benefits.
They're both good skin moisturizers, but coconut is a better skin moisturizer than the olive oil.
Got it. So here we've citronella. Interesting for those days when you're going to go out and mow the grass, I guess. Keep the bugs away. Or you're sitting out on your back porch having a cocktail. Keep the bugs away. So what are some of your favorite essential oils? Maybe clove, maybe lemon.
Mine, I like lavender. I also love the cedarwood because it can be utilized in so many different soaps and it has great benefits. Patchouli, I'm a big fan of patchouli, so I have to say patchouli.
Patchouli. I'm not even sure what patchouli is. Can you tell me?
I like the orange.
Yeah.
You like what?
I like the orange. I'm simple. Yeah.
Simple, yeah. So you were telling me that I asked you if there were any trends, and you said that there's a couple of new trends, and one of them is shampoo. Right?
Yeah.
To use a bar of soap as a shampoo?
Yes. So I guess they've been around a long time, but shampoo bars are like a hot thing in the handmade soap world. And basically it's just a soap bar that you use on your hair instead of the liquid bars. So people can travel with them a lot easier. They don't have to worry about bottles breaking and whatnot, and you can put it anywhere. So that's a hot thing.
And it lathers up just the way a regular liquid shampoo does.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, you can use any of our ours, we put a soy shortening into our soap, so that helps the lathering process. It makes it lather really nice. And we have people that use just our soaps in their hair as a shampoo.
So really, you could use any of your soaps. It's there's
It's personal preference.
we're sort of trained that you've got to buy a particular shampoo to get a shine to your hair or whatever, but sounds like maybe you can get that same quality from a bar of soap.
Oh, absolutely. And
Interesting.
there's no chemicals in it, so you're not
Yeah.
putting anything harsh on your skin.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. We unfortunately are out of time, but it's
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Jack.
you have a lot of choices on your website, and I hope that people will go and really take a good look and then get all nice and clean and enjoy the smell. So best of luck as we go into the summer, and hopefully summer markets open up and you get a chance to be in front of people.
Yes, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, so now we're going to meet Hearth Hound, a very different, interesting company. And we're going to meet Maria, Ampolo, and Kate Scholes. And their company is making dog stockings. Hello, ladies. How are you?
Hey, Jackie. Good afternoon. Thanks for having us.
Oh, just delighted to have you here. So we're going to make it sort of a secret. We'll ease into what's behind you, but
Okay.
let's just start with Maria. You and I had a chance to chat before the show, and essentially you told me that you're an artist and you were painting on glass,
Right.
and then you had this amazing chance to design tableware for a top maker in the U.S. and I don't know if it's ethical.
Rosenthal.
There we go. So everybody knows Rosenthal. That was quite a feather in your cap. And so your business was going along fine. You were very happy. You were in the creative world. I think the creative world is the place to be because it's a little bit less stress-free. And today, a friend invited you to join her just as an outing to a dog rescue center.
Correct.
And you went along just to keep her company.
Yes.
And you walked through the door and saw your first greyhound.
Yes.
It changed your life. So
It
tell us about it.
It was love at first sight. And I actually went home with a greyhound that very day. And her name was Winnie, and she was amazing. The most beautiful animal I had ever seen.
But
And
she was the reason that you started this company.
she absolutely was. She was so spectacular that I knew she had to have her very own amazing Christmas stocking. And that's how it started. I made her one. Several people saw it and they said, "Oh, you got to put these on Etsy." And I was like, "What's Etsy?" And then I learned about Etsy, and I made about 10 more of the greyhound stockings, and they sold out within several hours that evening. And I thought, oh, we've got a market for the greyhound lovers out here. And then from there, it went from greyhound stockings to my customers asking for other breeds. Can you make a lab? Can you make a poodle? And it just, the light bulb went on, and I was like, we've got something here. So that's how I started.
Well, and I can say as a promoter, as a craft show promoter, that I have watched the pet category, if you will. I'm sorry, but we have to lump in the cats as well. It has just grown and grown and grown, and there's so many products out there because we are a nation of pet lovers.
Absolutely.
But there's not stocking makers. So you really found a niche. So shall we talk about what's behind you a little bit, or shall we go to your website? What would you like to do?
Well, if people can see, these are just some of the prototypes we've made. It starts with me making a very crude looking pattern of a certain breed. That's
Yeah.
the Dachshund.
Oh, wow, it looks like that.
And it ends up looking like this cutie pie right here.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So I want to share that you actually really study the breeds. I know that you try and make the stockings as realistic as possible.
Yes. we
And
do.
and that's part of the appeal. And so as a result of that, and I think this is where Kate comes into the picture, you get a lot of custom orders.
Yes.
And so, you know, you've got Kate to step in and make the designs.
This is Kate's work right here.
Oh,
Can you see that?
yes.
That's based off a photograph of somebody's greyhound, and she will come in and paint them to look exactly like the photo, and I'll let Kate talk.
Oh, well, so I mean, there are brindles out there, and there's dark dogs, and there's white dogs, but there's always a little characteristic that we can add to it to make it look just like their dog. And it doesn't even have to be precise, but just a couple of details, maybe a scar or maybe a mark, or like in this case, this one was probably born without the white, but as you age, you can see the dogs, so
Our
it's
senior
just,
dog.
yeah, the senior dogs, as they age, they get more white. So it's just a nice way to really connect with the customer and with their pets.
And they love it.
There's so many breeds that are multicolored, and
Yes.
and that white spot or that brown spot may be in a very particular place of my dog that's different from everybody else's dog. So you have to find that and pick that up. That's great. So let's take a closer look at your website so that we can.
There's a happy customer right there.
Such a great shot. That's awesome.
We're lucky our customers send us the best photos of their
I
pets.
love those photos.
Their stockings.
And that I looked at that for a long time before I realized that the stocking was on the right. It's so well done. So well.
Thank you.
Yeah. And look at that cute.
And they can be used as decor
As well.
which is what we're trying to show.
Yes. So aside from hanging it on your wall,
Right.
some of the other uses, a pillow.
Yep.
That's one of the pillows coming out.
Yep. And that I love that picture. So, yeah. So let's see. The pillows.
Yeah.
You're constantly making, I mean, I don't want to put pressure on you, but you will do a custom pillow or you will do more breeds.
Absolutely. This we just started with a few of the popular ones just to sort of test market. So we found out the poodles sell out very quickly. And
let's go back to your signature dog stockings and
yeah. Oh, there we go.
All the breeds that you've got there. It's pretty amazing.
Yep. We have 23 breeds and 30 variations, but we are always adding. And during, I think it's like between March and May, we'll take on purely custom work that are breeds we don't have in the line, which means we make the new patterns and the whole 9 yards. So, but that's a limited time slot. Not everybody makes it each year, but we try.
And I also want to share with our viewers something that you told me about being a candidate on Shark Tank.
Yes, it's funny. The minute we started this business, our friends said, "Oh, you have to get on Shark Tank." And I kind of hesitated because I wasn't sure I even wanted to be on the show. But we finally filled out the application and we've gotten to the third step. So we had to do our pitch video, and we're now waiting to hear if we go to the next phase. So
How long does that whole process take from start to when?
it can take months and months. So we're probably 2 months in, I would say, from the day I sent the first application online in. So Yeah, we can hear any day now.
Well, we wish you lots of luck on that, and
Thank you.
yeah, no, you're going to go through. You have such a popular subject, and a very
Love their dog.
approach to it. Yeah, I think you're going to do great. So
Thank you.
can take a picture of their dog and send it to you if they're feeling.
They can either contact us through our Etsy site, or they can go directly to hearthhounds.com and just send us an email requesting a certain breed, and we could do it either way.
Perfect.
Most
Okay.
of our custom work is through Etsy.
All right, great. Well, thank you for joining us today, this afternoon, and we wish you the best. We look forward to seeing you at Mohegan in the fall.
We can't wait, Jackie. We'll see you there.
Thanks for having us, Jackie.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Bye. Okay, so now I'm going to talk to a jeweler, to Jessica Gomes from the Beaded Wire. And she's got some beautiful jewelry. Hello, how are you? I'm thinking your volume is there we go. Can you hear me now?
I can. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Yeah, no, delighted to have you. So, the fun part of this show, and I think for me and for our viewers, is that sort of little behind the scenes story that we can tweak out of you guys, because there just, as I said in my introduction, there just isn't any time at the shows. You don't have time, and most people are rushing to what's the next goodie they can find. But I think it's very interesting that your business life, you started as a pastry chef.
That's right.
You have this design ability, and so you were making these artful, yummy, delicious pastries, and you were specializing in vintage wedding cakes. And that's those very intricate and involved. And on top of that, you have to deal with the brides, and you have to deal, and usually it's in the summer, you live on the Cape, you've got traffic, you've got heat, and you've got stressed out brides. And so at some point along the way, you said, I think there might be an easier way. And so you made the transition to jewelry. So tell us about that.
I think the last straw was after I had a newborn at home and I was making the wedding cakes out of my kitchen, and I got into dead stop traffic with a buttercream cake just melting in the back. And I said, this is the last one. But in reality, mixing the colors and listening to the woman whose dream is written down on paper, it's very similar to jewelry design, mixing the colors and bringing a vision to life. I found a very easy transition. There's really no deadline for that bracelet. And if you get stuck in traffic, it's going to be just fine.
That's great. So you now, as you were telling me, you have a simple message, a classic message. It's a message that goes across ages and across dress styles. And as a result of that, you're in a lot of stores. And that's kudos to you that you've taken your business to this stage. So let's just take a look at some of your jewelry.
Thank you.
Let's go to your website. So we want to go down a little bit. Yeah, let's go to the signature, the customer favorites. There we want to go. Customer favorites. Okay. So tell us, what it is that works for your jewelry and for your customers.
So something that we really love is when we get a bridal order and we'll receive a letter from a bridesmaid that says, I just love your earrings that we got to be bridesmaids. I wear it with jeans and a t-shirt. I can wear it to a formal event. We have taken that kind of message. Every piece is very, very versatile. You can dress it up, you can dress it down, and they're timeless. These are all styles that aren't going to be gone by next year. I know when I love an outfit or a piece of jewelry, I don't want to let it go next year. I want to wear it for the next 10 years. And that's how our style across the board is. And they're very diverse. We use gemstones, Swarovski crystals, silver, gold, glass, sea glass. I love to please the crowd. I love when a crowd shows up and there's something for everyone. And that's really how our line has developed into the amount of different selections that you have. One of my favorite parts, I love making jewelry. I love designing jewelry, but I have a great crew in-house that we can talk about new ideas, talk about the last show, and we're constantly evolving. I love the crowds. I love talking to the women. I love hearing their feedback just as much as I enjoy designing and making jewelry. The whole package is really the art for me.
Okay. Yeah. Jessica, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, good. Sorry, there was a little technical glitch on my end, but we are just delighted to be perusing your wonderful website. So continue. Yes, salty girls. You wanted to say something about that, right? And I'm sorry if I'm being repetitive here, but my audio cut out while you were talking. So
sure, I filled it in. I filled it in with some fun facts.
Great, thank you. That hardly ever happens, but that's the world that we live in. So did you talk about the Salty Girl line?
I didn't. And as you're scrolling, as a new time viewer, you may have, hey, what is this Salty Girl Jewels? And really, this was a collection. We're based on Cape Cod, so we're a coastal community. And this line was developed for children. It's a lightweight, petite, conservative, simple jewelry. But as it turns out, mom, aunt, cousin, all the adults enjoy this simple, petite style as much as the children do. And it's all hypoallergenic. It's really fit for anyone. And there's lots of petite, cute little nautical designs in the Salty Girl Jewels. The Beaded Wire collection is more robust with bigger, bolder, however, lightweight styles that aren't necessarily appropriate for like a 9 and 10-year-old. But you can, the Salty Girl Jewels goes across the board really to any age group.
Should we take a look at your bridal line there?
Sure.
Yeah.
In the bridal collection, we offer a ton of custom work. We work with different spas, salons, and bridal shops where they just have a palette of our colors. And, the bride will send us a picture of the dress, the necklines, the bridesmaids' colors. And it's one of our favorite projects is to put together a collection for the bridesmaids, mother of the bride, flower girls. We can really coordinate lots of different styles. Are you wearing your hair up? Are you wearing your hair down? It's super fun. It's really a great creative aspect of our business. And there's a great reward to that.
Yeah, well, brides are so amazingly detail oriented. They know what they want, and it's really nice to be able to come to you and to your firm and say, this is my vision. So we are looking now at the earrings this is a mixture, earrings and necklaces. Is there another place that you'd like us to go to look at your line?
I think this is great. The customer favorites has a great selection of the Swarovski mixed with sea glass and gemstones. You can really get a good idea. We also like to display those together. Some really earthy gemstone sets along with mixed in with some Swarovski crystal bling. We are not stuck inside of a box we are trying to blend it all together, matte metals and bright colors. So I think that this is a great way to kind of show the different options that you could go in looking at. A very fun venue for us are like at the spas and salons right after you get your hair done and you're feeling great, to find a pair of earrings. And we get a lot of customer feedback, letters, messages on social media with a little story of what that woman wore, you know, her earrings for. You know, I had a big meeting and I wore these earrings and they were a huge hit. Or I had a conference and everyone commented on my sparkles. Thank you so much. And that really, really keeps us going, and kind of tells us that we're headed, you know, we're still heading in the right direction. So we appreciate the customer feedback.
Jessica, thank you for your patience. I'm just hopping in because I see they keep having some technical issues on their end. You've been a real pro as they've been dropping in and out. So thank you very much for that.
Sure.
It does look like Jackie's back, so I'm going to bring her back in and let's see what I can do here. One moment.
Okay.
You know what? I planned this because I knew the two of you would be way better than I would be. So I you know, the world that we live in technology. So thank you for sharing, and would love your jewelry, and hoping to see you in the fall at Mohegan.
Absolutely.
And I hope that you get, you know, the shows come back and you've got a chance to enjoy them all around New England this summer. So
Thank you.
thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Okay, bye-bye. So thank you all for joining us today. I really hope that you enjoyed the stories of all of these artisans. They're wonderful American craftsmen, and we need to value them, and we need to make sure that we keep them relevant and connected to you. So that is the job of this show, to have you subscribe to this YouTube channel, to Facebook, to social media, to tell your friends. And we need to create a big network here of craft show and artisan lovers who will come and purchase from these amazing people. We want them to be there when we get to open up for shows again. So thank you for watching, and we'll be back in another 2 weeks. In the meantime, please stay healthy. That's the important thing. Bye-bye for now.